PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here in the sports and entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. Now, if you're on our YouTube channel, PR Connections Radio, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on notification bells to not miss any content here on PR Connections Radio. If you're on the Vegas Hockey Hub YouTube channel, welcome. And if you want to like, share, and subscribe on there as well, we obviously appreciate your support. And for all the people that like PR Connections Radio, go over to their website, prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. They have a schedule where they have all of the great shows on PR Connections Radio, including Vegas Hockey Hub. So for tonight's edition of Vegas Hockey Hub with your host, Ian Rakelli, we're going to be making an argument to you why two playoff contenders could make a trade that would benefit both sides. And the two teams that we're talking about on this edition of Vegas Hockey Hub is your Vegas Golden Knights and the Carolina Hurricanes, formerly known as Hartford Whalers, in the Eastern Conference. Now, before we break down the trade and before we make an argument for why this trade needs to happen, we need to give a little bit of context here as to why who the Hurricanes are at this point in time and where your Vegas Golden Knights are at this current point in time. So let's focus on your Vegas Golden Knights, the Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights. So the Vegas Golden Knights, after winning a Stanley Cup championship, have been busy the past 60 days. Your Vegas Golden Knights, they extended Adin Hill. They brought back Brett Howden. They brought back Ivan Barbashev. They made some very smart, some calculated moves out there in Vegas, and a lot of them did pretty well for your Vegas Golden Knights. However, there is one problem the Vegas Golden Knights are going to encounter, and it's actually the reason why I am making tonight's video. The Vegas Golden Knights, after giving all this money to Adin Hill, after giving a 5x5 to Ivan Barbashev, and locking up Brett Howden to a deal, unfortunately, your Vegas Golden Knights are over the salary cap. More importantly, your Vegas Golden Knights are $4 million over the salary cap. And the Vegas Golden Knights are currently in a situation where they can't use a certain player to benefit them now. As it's been well established, Robin Lehner is no longer going to be on the active roster for your Vegas Golden Knights. He has been once again put on the long-term IR. Now, certain hockey fans are going to look at that and say, oh, well then job's done. Robin Lehner's contract's put on long-term IR. The Golden Knights are under the salary cap. This is great. But unfortunately, it isn't all said and done for your Vegas Golden Knights. See, Robin Lehner's $5 million is already included in the current salary cap. And the current salary cap of the Vegas Golden Knights is around $87 million. For example, and for case in point, the NHL's current salary cap is $83 million and a 0.5. So 83.5 is the current salary cap in the NHL. Vegas is at $87 million. So Vegas would need to shed about $4 million off the cap to make it work to begin the year. And for the Vegas Golden Knights, in order to do that, they would have to make one of two moves. The first one is they would have to send somebody onto the long-term IR to begin the year. And we have seen Tampa Bay, we've seen Vegas, we saw Montreal a few years ago. There are teams that are able to make the cap work by sending players to the long-term IR, by having players be put on these long-term IR, be put on IR, and make the situation work. However, a lot of times these injuries actually happen on their own, and it kind of helps itself out. Now, I'm not going to accuse Vegas or Tampa or Montreal or Toronto I'm not going to accuse any teams of intentionally putting a player on long-term IR despite them not being injured, but there has been speculation. There's been a lot of rumors the last 4 or 5 years that there are certain teams that are taking advantage of the long-term IR and getting players purposely to be put on long-term IR. As a matter of fact, the Vegas Golden Knights were accused of doing this when they acquired Shea Weber last year from the Montreal Canadiens and essentially had him on long-term IR for majority of last year. So that would be the first option, is for the Vegas Golden Knights to acquire a player that they could just put on long-term IR and would essentially be dead cap that they would have to get them under the salary cap. Or two, they would have to make a trade and or release that would be around $4 million and would make your Vegas Golden Knights get under the salary cap. Well, in order to do that, you would have to give up somebody of value. I mean, somebody who's $4 million normally is a value and an asset to your organization. Otherwise, he wouldn't be getting $4 million a year. So that's Vegas' side. That's the reason why Vegas needs to make a trade, is because they're currently over the salary cap and they would have to make a move to make it work. Now, why does Carolina need to make a trade? The reason why is because their current situation is a bit puzzling. The Carolina Hurricanes went swinging and missing at the NHL offseason. They brought in Dmitry Orlov. They brought in Michael Bunting, Sebastian Aho. They extended him for a long-term contract. The Carolina Hurricanes made some moves. But what the Carolina Hurricanes do not have, unfortunately, is a strong bottom six. The Carolina Hurricanes right now are in a situation where they have too many defensemen. They have some aging veterans and goaltending. You have Antti Raanta and you have Freddie Anderson. But more importantly, you also have a situation where you have a young and up-and-coming superstar who's on the IR. He's going to be gone for a while. He was already put on the IR. So if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, you need help on the bottom six. Okay? You do need to add some few members to that bottom six, especially on your fourth line. So you have aging goaltenders, you have way too many defensemen, and you need help on the bottom six. What does Vegas need? They need to shed cap space, and they would need to give up somebody and get maybe somebody back that would be able to get them onto the IR. So here's what I'm thinking here on Vegas Hockey Hub as we are talking about why your Vegas Golden Knights and the Carolina Hurricanes should make a trade. And more importantly, why I actually think it would benefit both sides. So the Vegas Golden Knights, who would they have to give up in the deal? Who would the Vegas Golden Knights have to move in order to make this a reality? Well, there is about 4 teams, or 4 players really, that come to mind. Because once again, the whole purpose of this is that your Vegas Golden Knights have to get under the salary cap. They have to make it work. So for the Carolina Hurricanes, we'll talk about them in a minute, but your Vegas Golden Knights, they have to make some moves. They do have to make some trades and some movement out there. So here's what I'm going to recommend for your Vegas Golden Knights. The first move that could be made is essentially having to get rid of an aging defenseman, but somebody who blocks a lot of shots, and that's an Alec Martinez. Now, let me make an argument for why you should do this, and let me make an argument for why you shouldn't do this. So, the first argument is going to be that Alec Martinez is one of the best shot blockers in the NHL. He is someone who sacrifices his body day in and day out. It doesn't matter how many games he has been in, doesn't matter how many times he has been in the clutch. Alec Martinez is a very good defenseman. And despite his age, he has been a good veteran for the Vegas Golden Knights. He is a 3-time Stanley Cup champion thanks to his time in LA and now in Vegas. He is a leader in the locker room. he is someone who the Vegas Golden Knights can rely on as a first-line defenseman here in Vegas. That's why you shouldn't do it. But why you should do it, and the reason why he could potentially be that guy, is because of his current contract. Now, keep in mind, Alec Martinez has 1 year left on his deal that he signed with Vegas back in 2021. Alec Martinez currently has a cap hit of $5.25 million. That would actually get them under the salary cap and have some spare change left over. Now, the reason why the Vegas Golden Knights also might have to do it is because of all the young defensemen the Vegas Golden Knights have in the wings. Yes, you do have Nick Hague and Zach Whitecloud. There are your third-line defensemen. But you also have Braden Pachal. You have Lucas Cormier. You have a bunch of good defensemen in the AHL that also are trying to get a chance. Caden Korczak is another example of that. When it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, it would definitely be a crushing blow to have Alec Martinez no longer on the roster. But what I'm going to mention to you is that when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, they're going to have to give up somebody that is going to be around the same value of about $4 million. Now, in terms of it actually happening, I am not going to say it's an absolute. Keep in mind, Alec Martinez also has a modified no-trade clause. So, him having an 8-team no-trade list, that also could factor in where he goes. So, when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights, Alec Martinez is a possibility because he has a $5.25 million cap hit. He's on the final year of his contract, so he would be essentially a rental, a 1-year rental for an organization. But the reason why the Vegas Golden Knights, he'd be the first player on that list, is essentially that he would be able to make the money work, and the Vegas Golden Knights would be able to get under your salary cap. So he's the first guy. The first guy is Alec Martinez. He is someone that definitely could be put on the chopping block for your Vegas Golden Knights. The second guy is a veteran as well. He is someone who is a misfit, someone who the Vegas Golden Knights have loved over 6 years. But once again, sports is a business, and they're going to have to make the salary cap work. And that guy is Brayden McNabb. Now, here's a disclaimer for you. If they did trade Brayden McNabb, yes, he has a modified no-trade clause, but more importantly, Brayden McNabb has only 2.85. So he would have to be traded alongside somebody else to make the salary cap work. And I have to keep in mind, Robin Lehner can't be given up in the deal because his salary would not affect the salary cap for your Vegas Golden Knights. Now, there's 2 reasons why you should do it, and there's one massive reason why you shouldn't do it. The first reason why you could do it is, once again, the logjam in defense. The Vegas Golden Knights have so many young defensemen and so many good up-and-coming defensemen in the AHL, in their prospect pool, that the Vegas Golden Knights are actually going to have to get ready to have one of those young defensemen eventually replace Martinez or replace McNabb in the future for your Vegas Golden Knights. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is that when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, they have been known for getting rid of defensemen to make a salary cap work. Keep in mind, they traded Nate Schmidt away to make sure Marc-Andre Fleury was signed back. It's also the same team that let go of guys like Nick Holden in the past so they could make way for other defensemen. So, I'm not saying it's an absolute, but it wouldn't be surprising to say that Brayden McNabb would be traded to Carolina. Now, the main reason why it might not happen, and the main reason why I say it shouldn't happen, is because he's been a day one. He has been a misfit. He has been someone who's been part of the Vegas Golden Knights since day one. He is reliable. He is consistent. He is durable. He is someone that you need on that defense, regardless if he was on the first line with Nate Schmidt or being on the second line with Shea Theodore. He has been a reliable rock for your Vegas Golden Knights, and I honestly would not trade him if I'm the Vegas Golden Knights. But just like Riley Smith, at the end of the day, sports is a business. They look at dollar bills and they look at their bottom line before they look at emotions. So Brayden McNabb could potentially be that second guy. And the third guy that I'm going to mention, and I'm only going to mention this just because of the fact that it is possible, okay? It is possible that it could be done. Now, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't do it. But you have to keep in mind, at the end of the day, sports is a business. You do what you have to do. There is a guy that's going to be a free agent next year. Someone that is going to be on the free agent market this upcoming next year. And he is someone that desperately is going to want to get paid by your Vegas Golden Knights. And considering what we know about the Vegas Golden Knights, your Vegas Golden Knights are very well known for getting rid of fan favorites, for doing what is best for business. And the guy that I'm talking about is the guy who just made an all-star team, and that is in Chandler Stevenson. Chandler Stevenson is a guy that currently is on 1 year left on a contract. And like I mentioned before, with Brayden McNabb, they obviously would have to give up something else in the deal, considering Chandler Stevenson is $2.75. Now, the one massive reason why you would not trade Chandler Stevenson is because of how good he has been for your Vegas Golden Knights. The fact that he has been your backbone. He has been someone who has been a steady rock for your Vegas Golden Knights ever since going from Washington a few years ago. But I have to keep in mind that I've been saying this throughout the entire show. Sports is a business. Sports is all about dollar signs. And if you can make a trade and get yourself under the salary cap, you might have to sacrifice somebody to get the deal done. So when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights and when it comes to making a deal, you always have to think about, if I trade this player and I have to make the salary cap work, is it worth it in the long run? And we also know from prior experience, the Vegas Golden Knights and Carolina Hurricanes have been frequent trade partners in the past. The Vegas Golden Knights are very comfortable trading with the Carolina Hurricanes. So I will say that when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights, I think there's like 5 players that you would say are untradeable, okay? There are 5 players that, because of how much money they're being paid, you would not trade them away. Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, Alex Pietrangelo, Shea Theodore, and Adin Hill. Those are 5 guys that you really would not trade. Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, Shea Theodore, Alex Pietrangelo, and Adin Hill. Everybody else, if you can make the money work, does make a lot of sense on why they would get traded. Hence, why my 4th and final player that you would talk about is a fan favorite. He is someone who the Vegas Golden Knights have loved since day one. And yes, folks, I have to talk about it because it does happen here. William Karlsson had a fantastic year 6. William Karlsson, Wild Bill, had an iconic speech. Okay, he had one of the best speeches the NHL has seen in a long time. But just because he made an iconic speech does not change the fact that the Vegas Golden Knights are $4 million over the salary cap. It does not change the fact that your Vegas Golden Knights are going to have to find $4 million to trade away. But keep in mind what I said earlier in the show. The Vegas Golden Knights' biggest problem is that they have too many defensemen. They have a steady goaltending, but they have a logjam at center. The Vegas Golden Knights have one of the best center depth in the NHL. What is the Carolina Hurricanes' problem? They have a lack of depth on the bottom 6. So whereas they have a logjam at defense, and they have goaltending in terms of veterans, the Carolina Hurricanes need help on the bottom 6. the Vegas Golden Knights are pretty good on the bottom 6. So here is what I'm going to say about a potential trade with the Vegas Golden Knights and the Carolina Hurricanes. And I hope a lot of people stay with me. This is a Vegas Golden Knights team that when I look at it, I look at what the Vegas Golden Knights have to offer, and I consider what the Carolina Hurricanes could offer. It's really going to go down to what can benefit both sides. How can you get a fair trade that Carolina and Vegas can both be winners at the end of the day? After doing enough research and enough calculations, I truly believe there is a trade that would make a lot of sense for both sides. Now, I will say that when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, I don't think that they're going to be a lot of interested in what the bottom 6 has for Carolina. But what I think Vegas would definitely be interested in is freeing up that cap space and getting somebody back in the deal. So, here's what I have the Carolina Hurricanes doing when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights. Keep in mind, this is a rough estimate. Okay, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not a general manager. I'm not somebody who's associated with the Vegas Golden Knights. This is just my idea about what Carolina and Vegas could do. So I will say for your Vegas Golden Knights and the Carolina Hurricanes, this is an offer that I do have in mind. This is a situation I truly believe could benefit your Vegas Golden Knights and your Carolina Hurricanes. Now, I have William Karlsson and a 4th round pick going to the Carolina Hurricanes. And in exchange, the Vegas Golden Knights would end up getting somebody off their bottom 6 that would actually benefit Carolina because, once again, Carolina needs help on the bottom 6. Now, what would Carolina get in the deal? What would Carolina have to give up in order to get a 4th round pick and someone like William Karlsson? Well, essentially in this trade, the Carolina Hurricanes would have to give up somebody that would actually benefit them in terms of long term. So I will say here, when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights, that the Vegas Golden Knights, they would have to give up a middle 6 center and a 4th round pick. But the Carolina Hurricanes would give up a defenseman that would actually benefit the Vegas Golden Knights. Who I'm talking about is a 26-year-old who has been around for a while. This is a 26-year-old who actually has a lot of potential for your Vegas Golden Knights, but more importantly, he does not have that big of a cap hit. Who I'm talking about is Caleb Jones. Caleb Jones, he is someone who is from the United States, came from Texas. He was a former draft pick by the Edmonton Oilers. He has been around the league for a while. He went from Edmonton, went to Chicago. Now he is in Carolina. And what I like about Caleb Jones is the fact that, yes, he is a 15-point, 16-point defenseman. But what I like about Caleb Jones is that he has some potential on the bottom line. So if you're the Vegas Golden Knights, you trade someone like William Karlsson and a 4th round pick. In exchange, you get back a defenseman that would be on your either a 7th defenseman alongside Ben Hutton, or would be a 3rd line defenseman. You could team up with Zach Whitecloud and or Nick Hague. Now, the reason why the Vegas Golden Knights would do this trade is, simply put, the Vegas Golden Knights would shed about $5 million in cap space, would only have to get back about $700,000, and they would also get to free up some space on that bottom 6. Nick Waugh would go up to the 3rd line, and you would have a 4th line center that actually would benefit from that. Maybe somebody like Michael Amadio or someone that you already have in the AHL that could come up into the 4th line. Now, why Carolina would do it is because William Karlsson would help out the bottom 6. And you would be getting a 4th round pick in that deal. And the Carolina Hurricanes, especially during the Ron Francis era, loved their draft picks. And it does benefit Carolina because Carolina has a logjam on defense. They have about 8 defensemen on the roster. And it would actually free up one of their 7th defensemen and actually would make Carolina a little bit better. So if you're the Vegas Golden Knights and everybody is watching the show, I want to know from everybody watching around the world, would you make this deal? Would you give up a guy like William Karlsson and a draft pick in order to free up cap space and get a defenseman that would be on the 3rd line or would be a 7th defenseman on the NHL roster? Because keep in mind, this benefits both teams. The Vegas Golden Knights shed cap space and they get a defenseman that can help them on the back end. Whereas Carolina would get a bottom 6 to a middle 6 forward in William Karlsson and would get an additional draft pick in this deal. So that's kind of where my thinking with this is that when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, they give up a misfit, which is definitely going to hurt, but they get salary cap. It fixes that situation, and they get a defenseman that could help them in the long term. And I'm also going to run this one part by you as we end the show. The Vegas Golden Knights have gotten very comfortable with trading with the Carolina Hurricanes. As a matter of fact, if you go to Trade Finder, which is actually how I found this out, if you have a Trade Finder and you go with the Carolina Hurricanes, it's actually quite funny how the Carolina Hurricanes and Vegas Golden Knights have made multiple trades in the past. So, the Carolina Hurricanes got Zachary Hayes from the Vegas Golden Knights at the beginning of 2023. Zachary Hayes was an AHL-level defenseman who the Vegas Golden Knights had in Henderson. They flipped him to Carolina for future considerations. The year before that, in 2022, the Vegas Golden Knights sent Max Pacioretty and Dylan Coghlan to the Carolina Hurricanes for future considerations. Yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights literally sent Max Pacioretty, who was already at a $7 million cap hit, and a good up-and-coming defenseman, Dylan Coghlan, to Carolina for nothing. But just because they had to shed cap space. Actually, the Max Pacioretty deal is actually what gave me the motivation to make this one. Because the Vegas Golden Knights, if they have to shed cap space, well, the Carolina Hurricanes have been one of their favorite friends and has been one of their favorite teams to call. And if that doesn't convince you, how about the fact that the Carolina Hurricanes and Vegas Golden Knights made 2 more trades before the Max Pacioretty and Dylan Coghlan deal? The Carolina Hurricanes and Vegas Golden Knights actually made a trade back in 2020. And what that trade was Erik Haula being sent to Carolina and Vegas getting Nick Waugh and Patrick Brown in the deal. So the Carolina Hurricanes sending Nick Waugh and a Patrick Brown to the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for Erik Haula. Keep in mind, that was during the offseason as well, and the Vegas Golden Knights saved about $2 million in that trade. And the one that happened just before that was actually an interesting deal where Marcus Kruger, who was a guy that Vegas Golden Knights got from the Chicago Blackhawks during the 2017 expansion night, they sent him to Carolina for a 5th-round pick. So it's been well established that the Vegas Golden Knights and Carolina Hurricanes have made deals in the past. So let me know in the comment section down below if you believe the Carolina Hurricanes and Vegas Golden Knights will make a trade. So this is an edition of Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. Follow us on social media at Vegas Hockey Hub and follow the show at PR Connections Radio. Don't forget to go to our website, prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media, and follow all the show by liking, sharing, and subscribing, and turn the notification bell not miss any content on there. So until next time, I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. Follow us on social media at Vegas Hockey Hub, and Go follow hockey. Go support junior hockey. And go, Knights, go.